do I need skincare? Thanks. Okay, so brought to you by Fight Back Skincare. Actually, we're brought to you by Someone's Bar, which is cool. I haven't seen them. They haven't provided some drinks. Hey, I'm Mike Capps. I'm co-director of the video game track, which is in its second and most awesome year. Actually, all three of my co-panelists are returns from last year, which is a good sign. So you guys must have been really nice to them. Thanks very much. Or we bribed them well enough. So I'm going to ask each of our panelists in turn to give a little bit of their background and, of course, answer the burning question in everyone's mind: is Xbox One much better than PS4 or far, far better than PS4? All right, so,
Sony!
Whoops. So, Steve, you want to get started?
Sure. Hi, I'm Steve. I'm a studio creative director at Volition. We make Saints Row games. Adventure. Yeah, it's actually really really exciting for me to be on this panel. Saints Row obviously started off on 360, and so it's kind of exciting to go and feed through that run, and now we're getting ready to move on to the next thing. And so it's an exciting time for console gamers. So hooray!
Okay. Hi, I'm Veronica Belmont, and in the gaming space, primarily I'm known for being the host of Core on the PlayStation Network for 4 years. I also hosted a show called Game On the TIP Network. But I'm a gamer, I'm a fan, and I'm just really happy to be back at DragonCon again.
Yeah. So I'm Mike Capps. I recently retired as president of Epic Games. We're most famously known for Gears of War. They're like Saints Row, but smaller.
Less penises.
Well, the chainsaw line was essentially that's what it's meant to be, right? So I've been lucky to work on a lot of technology. Worked pretty closely with the console companies for last generation and this generation. So it's neat to see how it develops. I can kind of talk about that some as well, and then I'll hand it over to Mr. Chris.
So I'm Chris Avellone. I'm creative director at Obsidian Entertainment. I don't really know why I'm on this panel because Wasteland 2 and Torment Tides of Numenera and Project Eternity are all PC based. The best console ever.
The PC is sort of like a poorly designed console.
I totally remember when I was growing up. You know, I had our PC. You know, you put the DOS disk in, you put the giant orange fucking switch to turn it on. And I'll never forget that moment of when I got SimCity, and I was so excited. And I put in SimCity and loaded in like the 5 floppies or whatever. And they actually were still floppy, and it wouldn't run because. Like, I couldn't wrap my mind around this idea that I bought a game at a store, and I put the disc in and it won't play, because I didn't have it on Nintendo or Atari. So, death to your machine, my friend. And I wanted to be able to put it in and play it.
So Steve, when you're coding Saints Row and scripting it and implementing it, what machine do you use to assemble the music? Because I don't disagree with your assessment, but I'm just asking a question.
Well, PCs are like tools. Like, I drive a car that I like, but it wasn't made with cars. It was made with screwdrivers.
Are you just talking about Gabriel right there?
Oh dear Lord, this is going to be fun today. So I'm going to toss out a few questions to get our panelists talking.
No. Veronica brought metrics. And data, and information. Veronica, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. Except that I am.
You are the person who brought the metrics.
They're not metrics, they're just stats.
My first question was, does anyone have any metrics or stats about the console?
You should ask. I'm sorry. It's really just a chart of
so somebody
it's a spec graph,
was like, do you know how much memory's in the Xbox One? Really? Do you? She's got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's get started then, and then we'll. Dance. Sure thing. I'll ask one of our volunteers to kick the soundboard up a little bit, and and please make sure those speakers that are back there are pointed backwards if you could. There's one on either side I can't actually see. Okay, siblings, right. So, and everyone make sweet love to the microphone. It's one thing I've learned from Mark Mears to put your mouth
Put it in your mouth. Put it in your mouth. Put it in your microphone.
Got it.
College all over again.
So to start with, some of us are currently PC gamers, I guess, up here on this panel. But I think the easiest thing for us to start chatting about is the Xbox or Xbone launch. That did not go particularly well in the hearts and minds of gamers. And reflect.
No, I think most people were surprised because it felt like the focus had come off of games and had really gone on to the multimedia space, which of course the Xbox is amazing at as a multimedia device and being able to stream and view content other than video games. But I think a lot of gamers felt kind of left behind in the lack of discussion. I mean, I'm talking about the original announcement, not more recent announcement.
And that was very purposeful, right? They were targeting investment at that point. They were targeting excitement from Time Warner at that point. They were trying to go after the gamers because, well, I think they felt like they already had us.
Do you have evidence to support that, Mike, or is that just speculation? Because, Mike, you seem to be talking a lot about very vague subjects with no backing or supporting evidence whatsoever.
Yeah, do you have metrics?
Where are your footnotes?
Where's your cited materials?
She has metrics. What do you
Wow.
I have a fucking IGN article on my phone. That's like my metrics. The truth comes out.
Well, so what I was going to do was, having been an insider in the development of those consoles and then having retired from the industry, I was just going to talk about what really happened. But if what we'd rather do, is see what IGN thought about what happened.
No, that was not. They're specs.
Okay. So I think it's a reasonable approach to take that we have two markets to win. We have the football audience that will buy the Xbox that will take us past the 10 million at this holiday, and then we have the 10 million units we'll sell to hardcore gamers who are really excited about Titanfall and Halo and whatever else. And there's a bunch of us who will buy that console just because those games look badass. But that's not enough to have a success with the console. To get 200 million PlayStation 2s out, 250 or whatever it was, you need to sell a lot to the mass audience. And so Microsoft went after the mass audience first, thinking E3 would be the place to focus on games. And unfortunately, all the gamers were like, what about me, bitch? And that did not go.
I think there's something actually really kind of interesting about that. There's a trend that's kind of happened over the past couple of years, where like more and more things have become mainstream. Avengers and Game of Thrones. There's lots of things that. And it's really exciting stuff. But I actually, to be perfectly honest, I never understood when people react with this large level of backlash for something being like something that we love being shared to more people. Like, isn't that a good thing? Isn't that kind of cool that things are going and more people can go and experience what we like and we can talk about things that we like?
No. My mom watching Game of Thrones ruined it. It's dead to me now.
I did get the sense that the hostility was kind of misguided, because I'm like, you guys, they're gonna come out with games, and the games are gonna be really fun, and you're gonna buy them. So like, just relax, like wait for more announcements. They're gonna come a month, right? And lo and behold, people are excited again. I wouldn't mind doing an informal poll actually to kind of get like the Civil War started in the room right now. Who is most excited about the Xbox One?
All right, so that's about 250. Okay.
Who's most excited for the PS4?
It's about 80, and then
Wow!
the Wii U. Anybody?
Wii U.
They have some excellent franchises that are as old as your panelists. And then, who here is just a mobile gamer and feels like console is just a fad? And it's
Oh wait, PC gamers.
all right. All right. Some of you, including Chris, raised more than one hand. Well, so that's very interesting.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
I interrupted you.
Oh, my train of thought's a runaway man now.
I'm sorry.
Right, so PS4 wins. Okay, next question. So I think one of the hard parts of the Xbox launch for them was to be so honest about the marketing, the business model behind console games, right? Where they make their money is by selling new games. As a console developer, that's where I make my money. And we talked about, I guess, in one of the earlier panels, that with a game like Saints Row, you need to make sure they keep that disc for a while so they don't return it used and it starts multiplying itself and tons of people buy that game and play it but never give any money to the developer or to the console manufacturer. So Microsoft kind of took that head on and said, we're going to go like Steam, and everybody thought they were evil, a little evil or a lot evil. I'm trying to gauge. A lot evil? No, yes. Right, a lot evil. Right. But it's what Apple does with iTunes, it's what Valve does with Steam, and pretty inevitable that you guys aren't going to walk into a game store and buy a physical disc any more than you go buy CDs anymore. So we all know it's kind of coming, but God, it sucks that it's happening. Discuss.
Well, yeah, people are pretty upset about like backward compatibility stuff too. I think that's, even though it just kind of sucks to think that you could buy a disc now and then, 6 months from now you won't be able to play that same title unless you can download it from the cloud.
Yeah, in some ways it's just like every once in a while I'll try to go and pull out like Final Fantasy 4 or something like that for Super Nintendo or Chrono Trigger or whatever, and I try to play it. And it's like, oh, the battery pack's dead and I can't save my game. So I mean, it's one of those things where even when I try to go back and play the things that I still own, it doesn't always work that way. If my Megatron's missing an arm and a leg, I love the eyes, but it's never quite the same.
It's really, like Mike said, it's the progression of technology. It's kind of an unstoppable force, but it's still kind of a hard, bite to chew. Initially, at the very beginning, at least.
Are PCs backwards compatible, Chris? Yes. Can I play all of your PC games right now?
No, actually, you can't play Wasteland 1 on a lot of the PC machines I have, which makes me sad.
I remember I bought Master of Magic was this like microprose game and it walks on the land. And I was like, then these two are like some of my favorite PC games.
Why did no one ever make another Master of Magic?
I don't know, man.
It was fucking badass.
Amazing, right?
PC.
But I remember like I got my work laptop and I installed Master of Magic. Another place is going to be amazing, and like it couldn't run because like it was too fancy for it. And so like I tried to move on the map, my guy would like run across the screen. It was terrible. My Darkness could never see anybody. Bullshit.
So I have a question for the panelists because I actually didn't follow the release. Once the Xbox agreed to actually allow indie development, like games to be distributed there, what was the reaction from the community then? Like, hopefully it was positive. Like, did people like, wow, Xbox, that was really nice of you to realize that perhaps this might be a good avenue?
You for XBLA or?
Yes.
Yeah.
My impression is that most people thought it was well, that's about time and you're copycatting Sony, which is kind of disappointing because of the massive amount of indie development that Microsoft was sponsored through XBLA and what was the Xbox XNA, the developer kit stuff that they did, and all the cool indie games that you think of. Many of them were sponsored by Microsoft Braid, right? Awesome indie game, but that was an XBLA game. Castle Crashers, games like that are really indie titles that were a ton of fun that came out on console. So it really hurt that they destroyed their reputation in one fell swoop just because Sony was nicer about it.
It was actually a shocking amount of goodwill that went away.
Yeah, 7 years of goodwill shot in the head by Sony showing up and putting Octodad side by side with Killzone, right? But that's what they did, and they're not going to sell consoles with Octodad, right? Because if you want to play Octodad, you can play it on the PC you already have.
That's one of the things actually really interesting about Sony's press conference that year was that virtually nothing that they showed was actually exclusive to the PS4. Like even Kingdom Hearts is coming out on the Xbox One, right? And like there's lots of things that people are like, oh man, it's so great, but they weren't even exclusives. It's just like their presentation was so slick. You know what I mean? Like it was just a really well put together press conference. You know?
Well, they had the opportunity to come after Microsoft, so I think that was part of it. Was like they were like, okay, we got to move some things around here.
Absolutely, that was a that was a good time.
Watching their dance of who's going to launch first. Most of us expected it to happen last calendar year, that they were going to be announcing consoles for the first time. They were both dancing around like Tokyo Game Show. It's October 2012. We should probably announce it. Is Microsoft going to beat us first? Well, we'd rather they went first so we could come $100 less or $100 more or whatever.
Well, what's crazy is that you probably saw more of that stuff than we did too, because you work so closely with them with Unreal. And so like at our side, like we're not first party. We're not working on Halo. We're not, nor are we Naughty Dogs. We're not working closely with Sony. We're just kind of a publisher hanging out doing things. And so all of our information was like a step below other people's information. And so like what's happening? We don't know. And so we're trying to go and actually even at the company. We weren't certain people at Volition weren't allowed to go and see any of the specs before everyone else. They had entire sections of the wing where there was like locked doors with pictures of Nicolas Cage being attacked by bees. It was in the bee room, and you couldn't go in unless you wanted like 4 guys. And even then, like Microsoft, I think it was Microsoft or Sony, one of them, you had to go and cover up the machine. Like the machine itself had to be put in its Ark of the Covenant so that no one could go in. It's funny because at the end of the day, all that shit's just a PC anyway before it comes out. It's like when Xbox One was being, Xbox 360 was being made. Like the dev kit was a Mac.
You're thinking Xbox, the first
360,
one, but yes,
360.
but it was a power PC.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. So now that so many, so for someone who's a third-party developer, like now that so many games are cross-platform, available on PC and on Xbox and PS4, what do you think like the driving selling factor is going to be for the consoles? Like as we see less and less like exclusive titles.
Yeah, I honestly don't know, because I think it's one of those things where people don't necessarily know what's going to go and drive them until they see it in action. A lot, like no one knew, like Xbox Live, when that was announced back on Xbox, like that was not the first thing that ever did it on like online stuff. You could play like Sega TV, or like you had Final Star on dial-up. And so when Xbox Live came out, you were like playing MechWarrior or whatever. Like it was cool, it was kind of neat, but people didn't really think how well it was going to go. And then all of a sudden they made a better interface, made it quicker for you to go and access it. And like, I can't imagine 360 without Xbox Live. People laughed when achievements came out. Oh, who's really going to care about achievements? Everybody. Right? People didn't know.
And it's spread to every platform,
Or like the avatars. I know people when the avatars were announced for Xbox, you're like, oh, it's just like a me. Who cares? You know what? I have a little Lilo and Stitch running around my guy because why not? Like there's things that you don't realize that you want it until someone does something cool with it, and that's why it's so weird.
Well, it's getting a lot harder to blow everybody away with graphics. Right? I think there's some amazing titles that are coming out right now in the generation, like Gen 7, I guess it is. When a Gen 8 machine comes out, they're really not that much more powerful than 7. It's significant, but it's not blow you away. And sadly, it's not even high-end PCs right now. Last time around, an Xbox 360 it was a super cheap, super high-end PC when it came out. They were taking the loss on it. It was such a badass piece of equipment. And that's not really the case this time. It's not a huge leap. So it's not like you'll see Gears of War, because Gears of War at the time, you just had gotten your HD TV probably at that time frame, in 2006, 2007. Gears of War or a game like it comes out, you're like, holy crap, this is so much better than Final Fantasy IV and Masters of Magic. I must buy this thing. And that's not going to happen this time around. GTA 5 looks incredible, and it's huge, and it just keeps going and going and going. You'll probably be playing it until the PS5 comes out. Once you finish Saints Row 4, because you need a couple more months to finish Saints Row 4, and then you're on PS5. So I don't think you have the graphics launch that you had last generation or the generation before, and that's going to be a slow start. I think that's going to be tough.
I mean, I think it's interesting is because like in the beginning, the people who are really going to be able to take advantage of things, a lot of what the next gen stuff has to offer from like a memory standpoint are going to be studios that have just like a huge bankroll or body count and go and throw people to go and try to fill all that space and really leverage that heavily. But then I think you're going to see like the true like innovation stuff's going to come and maybe a little bit past that when people start looking at how can they use interconnectivity is the big thing for next gen, right? And it's about how people can access their games faster. How can you go and get to that, make it more user friendly? And I think when people start pioneering interconnectivity between titles and things like that, I think that's when you're really going to start seeing some really interesting stuff. It's not going to be because they look pretty. It's going to be about my mobile experience plays nice with my console thing. Like we've already started seeing a smart glass. So like Injustice has a really cool iPad game, and it dovetails well into the console game. I think that stuff's going to get bigger and fancier.
So as a PC guy, some of what you're talking about with conversions, when you look at a game like Destiny or others that are MMO-ish and crossing console PC, does that get you really excited, or you just hate anyone who's using a console controller?
No, actually, so when we were doing Fallout New Vegas, one thing we noticed from a community standpoint was there's so many videos that go up that showcase a certain player experience that they're having that they just want to share with the community. So as soon as PlayStation came out with the share button on their controller, instantly we knew the exact audience that would make use of that and why that was so powerful. And like, as soon as I was like, okay, we totally get why that's a feature, and even though it's going to mean higher development costs to do the interface and make sure the programming is all taken care of, we understand why that's fun for the community and why it's important. So like seeing elements like that actually got us really excited because we knew from previous products how important it was to be able to share like videos and user experiences with other users.
All right, I'm feeling a little tapped out up here, so I'm going to pull out some questions from the audience. I have a roving mic, and one of my two volunteers is going to come and grab it. It's on the podium, Jason, you can grab it. And throw your hand up in the air and wave it around as if you want an Xbox or not a PlayStation 4. I put a lot of time on Xboxes over the years, a lot of exclusive time on them.
Hello. I'm a European gamer, and I was very excited for the new Xbox. And we saw the original launch, and it was a lot of the issue with the games not appearing in the initial announcement. We were thinking, okay, great television things, but yeah, I'm going to pay more than a US customer because they are already changing the dollar for a euro, and I'm not going to be able to use half the things this machine is coming with. So
You're not
I was
excited
not.
about the NFL ticket? You're not
Sorry?
The NFL?
Yeah, well, I don't like it. I don't even like sports, so yeah. But the thing is that, what are your thoughts on this? Why Microsoft is dismissing their European or Japanese customers?
Yeah, Mike, why?
Well, I can answer you for the Japanese customer from my own experience. Trying to sell a American-made console in Japan is very difficult. Gears of War was the #1 best-selling U.S. title on Xbox in Japan, and I think our sales were well south of 100,000 units. So, when you're the best and you're not making any money, I think we lost money on the PR we did in that territory. So I understand why it's such a difficult nut to crack. They're going to try, but it'll be hard.
I think, and I don't know, it could be way off base. I don't have a super lot of knowledge in this arena, but
Go right
so I'm
ahead.
gonna talk anyway. No, but no, I think it's like it's an artifact of like region locking, which is always kind of silly, right? Like region lock DVD is really lame. You buy this old movie, but you want to watch it, you want to import it, but you can't. Everything's all locked. It's a total pain in the ass. And I think that part of the problem with that is that the world has progressed more to interconnectivity, but the business models take longer to go and adapt to the flow of information that's been happening, right? And so before, no one had, like, who cared about region locking? It was no big deal because everyone was just buying their own stuff locally. You didn't know about this cool Bollywood movie that you didn't even know you needed to go and see, but now I do, so I want to go and watch it. Now I have to find a way to go and see it. And I think that now there's more of a trend, things are trying to become more region-free, and they're trying to go and be that, but people didn't even know there was a market for it. And that's what's also weird, is that, like, in business, particularly when you start talking about, like, hundreds of millions of dollars, investing in things, people get really gun-shy about something if they don't know there's going to be a return, what the return on investment is going to go and be. And so it's this weird chicken and egg scenario where people go and say, prove that it'll work. But you don't know if it's going to work until someone has the balls to go and try something and then see if it goes and takes off. And it's just it's going to get there. It's going to happen. It has to, because the world's coming smaller and smaller every day. It's just people got to get out there.
So the guy who's just made the 3rd sequel in a row for the same franchise is saying people should take more risks? You know?
I have a question. How many AAA games have Jane Austen and what?
I know.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're risking.
When you were talking about Gears of War, you meant Saints Row.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a problem across media, though. I mean,
I totally agree.
this is a problem we have on the internet too, with services like Netflix and Hulu, and it kind of goes all across the board. It's just a shitty problem that we haven't really figured out yet, because there are so many laws and so many regulations in effect still that it makes it really complicated for people to do business.
Those business model issues, I mean, I was selling games in Russia for $5. Unreal Tournament 3 sold for $5 because that's what fit the standard of living there and what you could actually sell it for. If you sold it for more than $5, everyone would steal it. And if you sold it for less than $5, you were losing money, so you sold it for $5. But in Poland, very, very, very close to Russia, we were selling it for $35. So if we didn't region lock it, then guess what happens? Everyone goes over in a truck and buys 2,000 copies of it and brings them back over to Poland, and we lose money. And it really sucks, but because the standard of living is so different worldwide, I would not say that the European standard of living is so much higher than the American standard of living that cutting out the dollar sign and putting a euro is fair, not even close. But that's part of where it comes from, is you'll have gray markets all over the place. And I think on the consoles, it's something they really have to deal with. If you have a non-region locked console, you can't sell them in Spain for 300 and sell them in France for 400, or people will just use trucks and solve the problem for you. So
will downloadable media solve some of that problem?
it sort of is, but iTunes does separate pricing in 38 areas, something like that.
And there's still availability issues too,
Yeah.
even on iTunes.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean,
Students.
you definitely will have areas that are locked entirely. Xbox Live had really big problems with that. You had DLC I couldn't sell in South Africa because Xbox Live wasn't officially in South Africa yet because of government regulation. But they all had Xboxes and they were all playing Gears and they were mad at me. I was like, I'm sorry, I'd love to give it to you. It's in English, right? Yes. All right. So let's. Next question for the audience. Yes, sir.
As somebody who plays in the US, I do a lot of downloading off Xbox Live, PlayStation Network, Steam. So the DRM with the Xbox One didn't really surprise me. It didn't affect me because I'm online all the time with my systems turned on anyway. My problem, do you think that when the Xbox One launched or when they did their announcement, if they had come out and said, hey, Xbox Live is going to be free, do you think it may have helped skew that a little bit?
I think if they had just had clearer messaging in general, I think the day of that announcement, things would have been a little bit better. Because they kind of pulled it back a little bit. Now they're like, you need to be on at least for the initial download, right, of the game, or if you have the disc, it needs
They
to
went from once
the
a day
initial
to
update.
Occasionally.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make
Well,
any-
there's another thing too, you can go and use your phone. You can go and do your update as well. Actually, there's another thing.
Oh, that's nice. That's
Yeah,
a good way to
you
do it.
can
I
use
mean,
your phone to
it feels horrible to me to have to, like, I want to play Saints Row today and I can't because I can't connect to Live because either their service is down or my network is down or something in between. That totally blows. But, I mean, I had that experience on Half-Life 2 where I couldn't play the single-player version of Half-Life 2 because I couldn't Steam authenticate. So it's something we're really, really comfortable with in some spaces and we're really uncomfortable with in others.
It's interesting because I know there's a lot, like, speculation on something like this is always obviously it's hard because no one has a crystal ball or a magic 8 ball. But like when people look back, Microsoft didn't make any of those decisions because they thought that people would be pissed at them, right? Like they did that because they believed that people were really going to be excited about it. And
Excited about Always On?
honestly, that's why you when you don't give a press release, you give a press announcement. If you're like, here's a bunch of things you're not gonna like, we win, you know. And so, like, when people go,
Now I'm going to go work at Zynga.
They did these things because they really believe this is going to be a thing people would resonate with people, and maybe they were kind of wrong. But like, I think it's interesting how people.
Like I understand their thought process, and I think maybe some more lessons could have been learned from the SimCity debacle, launch day kind of stuff. But that was bad. But that's another thing. It's another one of those technology moments. Like I don't know if broadband is established enough in the country for this to. I don't know if this is going to be a problem yet because I feel like I always talk on the tech side of things on my tech shows about. There's so many great services out there, but we still don't have widespread broadband adoption. And how is that going to affect something like these validation of downloads for these titles on Xbox One?
I don't know. Call of Duty's doing pretty okay.
It is doing pretty okay, yeah.
Whatever.
But is that everything? Is that
20 million.
It's kind of everything, I guess.
Right? I mean, honestly, the more people like, I think the Call of Duty isn't that the #1 selling Xbox game, right?
Yeah, they're like 14.
Right. It's a staggering amount of people, right? And
So
clearly,
should people not be concerned, you think?
I think that if the #1 selling game of entertainment, like most money that an entertainment property ever made was one of the Modern Warfare games, and clearly, right, that there's a base of people who are interested in things that have online components and online play, right? But there clearly is a group of people who are interested in that.
But does Xbox now wanting to be a more truly multimedia kind of device that is more your home entertainment center as opposed to just a hardcore gaming platform, is it still reaching out to those same people all the time?
I mean, like, does anyone really care that Apple decides that you want to use your phone for more than just making a phone call, right? Like, your phone all of a sudden is everything. It's like a Shadowrun thing now, it's bizarre. But like, I think it's more things are getting smaller and more combined. I think it's a natural thing.
Yep, that's why consoles will all be dead in 3.5 years. You heard it here first, because your phone will do it, right? You've got wireless HDMI. You can do wireless HDMI to your TV set, and then I can just bring this to your house, have all my games on it. It'll come. Joystick standards came out.
We want some buttons!
That was the biggest news, I think, of E3 that nobody maybe paid attention to was Apple came up with joystick standards, right? When they have a controller that's awesome and it's as slick as my iPhone is, and she's got 2 of them at her house, and I walk over with my phone and we play my console games that I've bought, double onto her Apple TV through her TV set, $100 for that, $30. This was free because I already buy them already, right? It's not like an extra expense. $500 seems like a whole lot of money to have a similar experience.
That sounds fun. Can we have cookies too?
Chris makes great cookies.
Ooh, all right.
He does. And cool. All right. So let's do another question. Right here. Yeah.
You kind of traveled far from where I wanted to go, but with the always-on DRM, I'm screwing around playing it. With that always-on DRM and stuff like that, we're not going to be able to do it. The Xbox literally just became a console I have no interest in anymore. Because at least for Steam, I can go for the offline mode before I deploy, download everything, and it's good for the entire year or whatever I am overseas. Is there any thought being considered, like, things like that or development on that, so that those of us that will be spending a long time away from the internet have an opportunity to play our games that we purchase?
I mean, gotta hope so, right? I mean, there's so many legitimate reasons you wouldn't be online, whether it's just, I'm going for a 4-day trip to the beach, and I want to bring my Xbox down there, and I don't have wireless at the beach, and I want to have a good time with my friends playing NHL, which might not be possible, but maybe there's some other game where you can play. All right, so NHL, are you gonna have fun playing a hockey game? It's pretty good. There's a lot of legitimate reasons you'd want to do it. I think it's so easy for us in the games industry. I mean, 15 years ago, it was on disk copy protection, right? You know, are you going to piss off 2.5% of your players who legitimately bought your game, but your copy protection doesn't work with their CD-ROM? Or are you not going to have copy protection, which could kill your sales in terms of piracy? I mean, those kind of issues where you're screwing over legitimate players in order to save some bigger business issue, those suck. I mean, that's the least fun part of the job, I've got to say. Is when you have people who say, I really can't play your game because you don't offer a joystick reconfiguration and my hands won't play this way. It's like, I just don't have the money to spend on another guy to make that work for you, but I get why you want it, and I feel shitty you haven't done it. It's a trade-off decision. I don't know if you guys have had to deal with these ugly trade-off decisions, but they're no fun. I can't believe, it sounds like the phone thing is a great start, right, where you might be able to check in for a while. It sounds like they just need some level of legitimacy. You know, give me 2 weeks at least. I can get an internet signal once every 2 weeks. That would be enough, maybe.
Why not just, I mean, once you register, if it never connects to the internet again, it's good. Why is there, like, is that just they worry about reselling it?
Yeah, because you could then resell that, right? Here's my console with everything has been authenticated with my account, and now I'm giving it to you for a year, woohoo, and I've now resold everything, which was what they were trying to avoid happening, was resale.
I do think there's also, like, one of the things that's interesting is, like, people, Connect is a great example, right? Where people go and say, why aren't there more things happening with Connect, or why can't, like, more hardcore games try to find ways to use it? And the reason is that people don't want to go and spend, like, a lot of developers don't want to go and invest money on a feature that they don't know that everyone's going to go and have, right? Because a lot of time and energy spent on something that you don't know how many people are going to actually use it. And so the more that you know that things are standardized, like if you know that everyone who's playing on the console is always going to be online, then there's certain features you can bank into the game to go and and capitalize on that. So the more that things are uniform, the more you can go and start to go and really leverage things and see something powerful. But the more that things are desperate, the more that things are broken into separate pieces, you're going to see less of a reason to use those separate pieces because no one, well, we don't know that everyone's going to have that, so why would we go and create that?
Yeah, that's also part of the, oh, go ahead.
I lobbied pretty hard for Always On Connect for the console, and I lobbied for it back when it first came out, and then for Xbox One. And you might think, that sucks, I don't want a scary camera in your house. And you're like, well, honestly, I wanted to put a camera in your house that was always on. That was part of it, I'm weird. But the other part of it was, as a developer on Gears of War, I actually was the first developer to get a Connect kit, long before it was really Connect. They didn't call it that at the time, all those things. We had this sexy thing, we're like, this is so cool. Can you imagine doing a reload or weapon switch by putting your arm over or throwing a grenade like this? So it's going to have processors in it, and then they changed the design that it was going to use the onboard CPU. And suddenly, to have the Connect on, I needed 20% of my CPU power, always dedicated to Connect. And I was like, okay, forget it, because now I look 20% worse than Call of Duty or whatever else I've done. I'm not going to use it. Now if you tell me I have to use it, and it's always on, now I'll start using this cool feature. right? But I'm not going to have it maybe on, maybe off, and have to ruin the experience for everybody who's not going to use the feature. So general.
Yeah, there's also something to be said for like the platform uniformity. Like if it's online enough that you're constantly getting the updates to the system in the right way, then that's less that the developer kind of has to worry about. You don't have to think about people playing outdated versions or not having the best possible experience. And that's one of the issues with PC gaming is that, you know, it's almost like, you know, developing for Android because people have such different kinds of setups and systems. It's easier for coming to a console to be able to know exactly what you're going in with and knowing the state of the machine.
And I think Steam solves that reasonably well. It's part of their, you know, cheat protection and that sort of thing, but they make you take the latest version of the game if you're online, just like Xbox does. How are you going to handle version-itis? You're still worried about handle design issues. Yeah, exactly. Fair enough. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. It's mostly single player. They'll be fine. Next question, sir.
How do you feel about ecosystems in the gaming genre? I feel like with the Xbox One message, it was, you know, not just about the games, but more about Internet Explorer, ShareFile, all these things. Am I going to have to throw away my iPhone and get a Windows phone? Do I have to get rid of iTunes? Are y'all thinking about all that? Does the success of the Xbox One ride on the success of Windows 8?
That's a really good question.
Yeah, and Zune's pretty popular.
You know what? The very best selling, most profitable third-party licensed product we did for the Gears of War franchise was the Zune. The weirdest thing.
Zune was awesome looking, by the way.
4 New York Times best-selling novels, a award-winning best-selling comic book, cool t-shirts, avatar, you name it, but it was the Zune, and it was because they put it in military PXs, and we had a ton of fans in the military for Gears of War, and it went really well, and I guess they sold it cheap, I don't know, but it's actually a nice piece of hardware that I don't have on either, because why the hell would you use a Zune, right? Yeah, I thought it was really cool. Sorry. So in terms of ecosystem, you need to have it all. I mean, Microsoft is clearly angling again to be input one on the television, right? Owning the living room experience, and hey, you can play with your PS4, but you should plug it into your Xbox, in the back of your Xbox. That will be the new receiver. I'm not sure it's going to happen, but I see why they're trying for it. And Google is talking about trying for it, and Apple is definitely trying for it to be input one. But right now, cable still owns input one in the United States.
Well, you have to figure too that if your goal is to go and be like the central hub of like your living room, you want to create something that's flexible enough so that whatever you happen to go and have, will go and work with that, right? You'll never go and be the thing that owns the living room if it's like, oh, it only works with our special little side things. That's why whenever they talk about connecting to your mobile devices, every single time Sony or Microsoft does it, the little silhouette is a fucking iPhone, right? Because they always show an iPad and an iPhone because that's what everyone has. Even though there's no products that they make, they know that's the way that people are going to be using it. Is how they're going to be
right.
using it.
That's the only way they can win. I mean, really, at the end of the day, because you just can't expect that everyone's going to have a Windows phone. I mean, that's unrealistic.
It was hard at Microsoft for them to do that and kind of admit they lost the war. I mean, some of their phones are really strong, actually. It's just
yeah, they're beautiful.
You know, but it doesn't matter. I have an iPhone. I guess well, you did until you threw it in the ocean.
I did.
Weird woman.
I didn't throw it in the ocean.
I was angry.
It fell.
Decided himself,
It
grabbed it out of your hand,
Yeah.
and dragged it into the ocean and teased you with it. Now you're on the HCC. But obviously, it was hard for them to make that adjustment and be willing to work with our devices. But they are doing it now, and there's all the little apps you can use to work with your Xbox.
Yeah.
We're really
The Glass
excited.
app is nice on the iPhone. Yeah. I'm actually really curious to see how things change in the post-Ballmer era. Because, you know, he was such a stalwart of Microsoft for so many years, and he didn't really have many hands in the Xbox side of things, but I'm wondering if there's going to be kind of a new direction to being a little more open across different systems going forward, with a new CEO in place.
Still interviewing for that, I'll let you guys know.
Good on you.
Okay. Hi. I'm wondering, where do these console companies get their input to make these decisions? Because I feel like everybody I talk to has the same complaints about the decisions that these guys are making. And you said earlier that they were dismissing or ignoring or not taking too much into consideration a very small percentage of the gamers. Where are they getting this big percentage of gamers, and Why are they, where do they get this information?
What's interesting, there was a, okay, so after the Xbox One press conference was released, there was a thing that Microsoft released a statement, and it was interesting because the response, and even if you read like a newspaper or anything that wasn't like gaming press, they all thought it went great. And I think that it was one of those things where they actually did appeal to a mass market, because like a lot of people who just weren't the hardcore gamers responded.
Like kind of the question, like I'm not sure they were even asking gamers in the first place. They were actually just trying to reach a wider audience. That wasn't, which was the weirdest thing, because for a game console, you're like, well, isn't that the target audience you want? But then they were like, it's easy to
be confident and think you've already got that audience.
Yeah, they took it for granted.
Right.
We'll get them at E3 and we're going to show Titanfall and it's going to be so badass, and it was really awesome, right? But they figured we'll get them in there.
Right, exactly. And it's interesting because I mean, I promise you that those people were doing focus tests, right? And I'm sure Sony and Microsoft were all trying to go and see how people going to respond to this, and they felt like, oh, this is going to be good enough, and we'll start off here, we'll build it bigger, and then we'll move forward.
Yeah, they're not going to like the always-on thing, but we'll talk about why it will be good for them in the long run, and then we'll shut up and quickly talk about other cool stuff, right? They know it's not going to be a popular decision, but they also think no one's going to care. In a couple of years, who's going to care that I can't resell my used discs?
Oh boy, the chat room in our live stream sure cared.
Yeah, I know,
It's
right?
like angry.
Oops.
So much angry.
Why did they just read the comments in the YouTube posts, and then they would have known that the internet
That's always effective. That is always effective.
And I mean, I think there's a big difference between ignoring and understanding and making a decision anyway. Like, I've done a lot of unpopular decisions as a game developer where, yeah, they sure would rather have had 2 more levels. They would have rather it didn't cut that level. If I'd asked all the gamers if they'd rather have 3 more weapons, of course they'd say yes, but I can choose to ship it or make all the weapons lower quality or ship it as is. So it's not always that you're ignoring people's feedback. Sometimes you're just making a decision like it's a business decision. We got to go now. Next up.
My question is, what do you think the advantages of the PS4's DDR5 or GDDR5 will provide over the DDR3 of the Xbox One?
I thought you were talking about Dance Dance Revolution.
Yeah, exactly.
Dynamite Rave.
I'm really glad there's going to be a dancing game.
Yeah.
Do you want to pull out your specs there, Missy?
I have specs, but he just said them.
You still Veronica stuff.
I think what you're going to find in this audience isn't this panel isn't qualified to answer your question. It will be bigger bandwidth.
Faster.
And
Faster, yes.
And more or less likely to be parity error. Anyway, so we're going to move on from that question now. Yeah, sorry, I'm no longer technical. It's a wonderful deal. So, microphone to someone. Oh, to you. Got it.
Hi.
Sorry.
I have a question from the indie developer side of things. I'm currently freelancing for Lab Zero Games. Skullgirl is available on Steam now. When we initially released the game last year on the PSN and the Xbox Live, though it came out fine, but then when we had to go and do the whole, we released a patch for it, it didn't take that long on the PSN, but it took like about 6 or 7 months before it eventually came out on the Xbox Live, because we had to go through the roundabout on with their certification and whatnot. And we were watching the whole Xbox Live business as far as like how they were going to be handling indie developers and whatnot and the constant 180s that they were making on how they're going to be treating indie developers. And after all this, how much do you think it's going to be an easy job for indie developers to put their stuff out on the new consoles at all, or like, what do you expect? What kind of problems do you think they're going to be having?
Making good is always easy, so there's never any concerns there. No, I wish I knew the answer to that. So it's a minefield. It always changes, right? Like you mentioned patches. Like I was having flashbacks about like each company has their own different rules and regulations, and so I'm trying to jump through one, then you stumble over here, and then all of a sudden, a lot of people don't know this, but at least they used to, they've kind of they've softened a little bit, but like every patch that you ever want to go and do for your product, the company had to pay them non-trivial amount of money.
Which is
there's
always a lot of fun.
Yeah, the first patch was free for on the Xbox, but then after that it's $40,000.
Everything on
And that's just their cost, right? That's because they're testing it super hard, because if his game breaks your Xbox, you're going to blame Microsoft. You're not going to come after
That's why they never patched out Fez on the Xbox.
Right. Well, that's the thing that's really tricky, right? And so then the theory is that they do it because they're like, well, we want to make sure that the game comes out, it's going to go and work. Because ideally speaking, you want your game to function without a patch, right? Like in a perfect world. But it's hard because that's why obviously it's like, oh, why isn't this fixed yet? Because you're like, well, if we're going to be paying $40,000 to do this, we might as well make sure we get as much as we can in that one patch. Or if people say, oh, we're going to wait for a DLC drop, because on the DLC drop we can go and include our patch upgrade to that, and this way we're going to be paying the submission for that anyway. But every year though it changes, right? There's always a different hoop. All of a sudden, oh look, because this one game was allowed to do this, that you can use that as like a grandfather clause, and it's such a.
I think one of the I think one of the things people forget about Xbox Live Arcade was that it was a really well curated experience to start. You know, there were 5 games, and then 6, and then 7. They were all really good, right? Nowadays, you go to the B section of XBLA, and there's 500 titles. You can't find anything good. It used to be when you started, it was all really good quality stuff. And they were creating a business. The idea of downloading games and paying $5 or $10 for them was nuts, right? Nobody was doing that, but there were a couple of really good titles. So it's very closely curated. And I think Microsoft may have been thinking, that's the way to start it again. We're going to have a new audience, and we're going to show them, yeah, if you download something from XBLA, you're going to feel like you got your Castle Crashers $10 story, and it was awesome. Not that it's a random iTunes game or iPhone game that got shoved over in a bad port, and they're just trying to make $10 off it, it's going to stink, because that reflects poorly on the console. That stuff's there now, but most people have already gotten their feeling of value and quality out of the Xbox 360. But a new generation, hopefully a bunch of, I guess, NFL fans are all going to buy it for $500 to watch NFL, because they couldn't already do that. So those folks are going to be exposed to XBLA for the first time, and they want to have awesome games like yours and not a bunch of chaff from there, right? So it's a hard problem, and I can see how they didn't want to make it wide open at the beginning. They are now.
I do really find that the curation situation on Xbox is somewhat problematic. I feel like it is very difficult to find indie games sometimes, and I don't know why Steam seems to be more successful at that. Why do you think that is? You?
Because they have 27 psychologists on staff who are figuring out how to present data to you. It's crazy. If they weren't good, they would be really evil.
I think it's like I don't know, but I mean I feel like a lot of people who are going to buy those games on Steam, that audience is innately more savvy, right? Because by virtue of the fact that they're even going through Steam means that they're caring about like what's their detail oriented. They know about the specs that they make the machine run in the first place, so they know what they're looking for. So you can have a wide variety of things to go and find because they're probably keep following trends. They want to see what those things are. Whereas like for a console gamer, for me, it's like a potpourri. I have no idea.
Yeah, but even on their front page carousel, I mean, they almost 50-50 mix in like small indie titles with AAA titles. So Xbox should do that too. Yeah. I don't know why I'm telling you. Like, do it.
I'm on it. Yes. Like a zombie, I will come back. Well, I mean, the Steam guys do A/B testing constantly with their store. They're really smart about it, and they'll put in a 3-line description for every title to half of you, and a 4-line description to every title to the other half of you, and see who they make their money off of. And they're like, okay, 4-line titles, that's the way to go, right? It's like testing different menu design at a restaurant to see how you make money. They're really good at presenting data, and Microsoft is still using the old interface that they did back when it was highly curated. There were only 20 titles.
Tangentially, Steam blows my fragile mind because a few years ago, people thought that PC was dead. It's like PC's dead, it's over, it's lost, the war is done, and PC's never coming back. And then Steam's like, or maybe not. Surprise! You love us. And it's awesome. I think it's like one of the coolest things that's happened, actually.
Yeah, the big shot to me was Skyrim doing so well on Steam. Because Skyrim, amazing game, loved it, and we all played it, right? But it's a single-player game, so it's so pirate. and they sold millions and millions of copies on Steam. And so what you're looking at there is an audience that is technically savvy, has the rig, and knows damn well how to go, pardon my French, darn well how to go to BitTorrent and download Skyrim somewhere. And they did. They chose to pay for a really good game experience. And that was astounding to me, because I thought single player games were dead on the PC because of piracy. Bulletstorm, maybe not the best game ever, but the piracy ratio is like 1,000 to 1 of people pirating it to buying it. So it was a good game. I'm proud of it. It was largely single player, and you can't afford to make a game like that and have it entirely be so good. So I thought Skyrim and Steam sort of saved single player PC game, which is great for you, sir.
Well, yeah, but the fact that they also, I mean, I'm sure this doesn't actually have a dramatic effect on sales, but you know, the fact that they always can release the editor through the PC, obviously, and PC users are allowed to generate their own content too. Like that sort of skews me on the whole Skyrim experience. I'm like, you know what? I played Skyrim, and now I'm going to modify it in the following way. Instead of only getting game development, I can actually create my own mod and show them what I can do. And I don't know.
Absolutely, the Steam Workshop's going to go and change. I think that changed things in a very meaningful way, because it was like embracing modding and just giving it a big sloppy hug and saying, come on, it's awesome, do it.
Yeah.
Right.
But we're on console here today.
Yeah, right. And it's like Steam Talks. What are your routines?
Yes.
No, that's just,
Steam
you
on
don't think
Will it
like
be on
Steam
PS4?
Workshop sort of shit's going to be happening on next-gen consoles, you know, within a couple of years? I mean, come on.
Well, they've
sure,
been
yeah.
working with
Steal a good business
PlayStation
model.
quite a bit already, so.
Hi. I feel as though that gaming these days is not necessarily strictly for gamers, but it's also shifted with the Wii to a family-oriented activity. And with the new consoles coming out, do you think there or foresee any changes that the Xbox, the Xbox and the PS4 are going to shift from just strictly, you know, like gamers to a more family-oriented environment with these changes?
I think absolutely. I mean, have you played Happy Action Theater on Connect? Because it is the best. It's a Double Fine game, and that is definitely a family. What? Woo!
Double Fine's got their plants everywhere. I think y'all are totally crazy because it's a $500 platform and nobody's buying that for their kids.
But can I play it with their kids?
Maybe at some point they'll have portfolio fillers. Like every Xbox always has, you've got the whacked game and the one game for kids. But this holiday, it's all about blowing stuff up all their bots.
Wait.
And then a year or two, I think it will become more of a family platform. But right now, it's a $500 toy for 25-year-old men.
No, here's the difference though, right? Like you're looking at the software, but not the hardware, right? Like my friend's, one of my friend's mother was super excited when she saw. Have you heard about these things about this? I suppose I can go and control the TV, like when anyone walking in. Like that was the thing that she was really excited about. Or like my friends, like we're all planning on getting one, not because of the games, but because we want to be able to go and have the wide view Skype camera, and so we can, so families are communicating, or like, and it's interesting because yes, you can go and do that already with Skype on your webcam on your PC. But like it actually has a wider lens camera, which means that you can go and sit around your living room, and it becomes it's more like the carousel of progress in Disney. But it's I think that there are those features that appeal to that wider audience. But that's also why I think to the earlier point, we're like, what about the games, jerks? And I think that's what people got.
Yeah, but it's interesting that your question contained the Wii, like as being exposed to a wider audience, because I don't think it had anything to do with the games. I think when people saw the interface mechanism for that, suddenly that went beyond just the gamer audience, and people were able to understand that interface a lot easier. And I always have the impression that with the PS3 and the Xbox, like to an extent, there's a barrier there that if you're not really a gamer, it's a little harder to get that system up and running for like just someone who's just a casual family member. With a Wii, there's more motivation there because you understand the interface, you get why that works. And I don't know if the PS4 and the Xbox One have that same friendly level of presentation, to be honest. Like,
from what I understand, like as you said, it made it more friendly, but like in a sense that made it kind of like a gateway to probably introduce do see people.
I actually think it kind of worked in the opposite way. I think that the Wii kind of got relegated to be a family device and kind of turned off a lot of hardcore gamers who were like, oh, this is not a console for me anymore, and maybe pushed a lot of people away. It almost became faddish in a lot of ways, at least in my opinion. We didn't really talk about the Wii too much this panel. It wasn't the title.
No, I should have done the title because I was out
Oh,
of
you did?
characters. So yeah, we got a question mark. Yeah, my mother played games with me in 1978 on the first Atari 2600 that came to England, and then she played games with me again for the first time with the Wii at Thanksgiving, right? So I loved the Wii for that, bringing gamers in who aren't gamers, but touchscreens are what's really doing it. If you want to talk about what percentage of 4-year-olds have used a touchscreen very well.
Well,
versus what
that's
percentage
the
have used
best
Wii.
interface. Like who could not get that? Like, not even a controller. You're just like, okay, well, I understand where the camera motions.
Right. So I think that's the gateway to gaming. Is this. Stop it. So that's your gateway for younger kids into gaming. Is a machine that's primarily, the app store is like 85% apps or something like that. Games. There's 4,000 new games coming on the store every day. This is a gaming platform that makes phone calls in my mind, and I think that's what you see. Kids are coming through this, not the 15, 20 million Wii's that sold, but the 300 million touch devices that sold. Great question.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we have time for one more.
Okay, is it going to be good? Did you check? I mean, it's a lot of,
All right, no pressure though.
And the issue that I saw with the PS3 was like it was really powerful, so it tended to like overheat. And I destroyed my first PS3 during that. So is that going to be an issue at all with PS4? Do you know?
I would be surprised, probably, but I have no idea.
If it is, then something's gone terribly awry, right? I'd like to think they would go and be.
Yeah, right.
I didn't hear a lot of stories of PS3s melting. Xbox 360.
do to it?
I know, right? So much goes on.
Wait a
Yeah. So much
minute.
goes
It's
on.
like a closed-off cabinet. You need airflow. Airflow is important.
Yeah, power sources for 360s died a lot for overheat, but I didn't hear much about console overheat. I think it's going to be less of an issue. At least Microsoft is very much trying to manage power consumption because they're looking for a device that's quiet, because they want it to be always on in the living room. And so therefore, I mean, you have to make a couple of compromises if you're going to have a device that's quiet and doesn't need a giant fan. Like my awesome PC rig has 4 huge fans in it, plus the power supply fan. I can't put that in my Xbox and have it be on all the time in the living room, or I can't hear my awesome Netflix when I'm watching archery. So therefore, I think you'll see the Xbox won't overheat because it can't be that powerful of a graphics card because they just can't afford that much wattage. I don't know enough about the PS4.
I would be shocked if the PS4 didn't have a similar attack though.
They're trying to own the living room, and you can't have a giant, loud, spinning fan thing in the living room if you want to do that.
Yeah, just remember airflow, and don't let your cats sleep on it.
No cats.
Or behind it.
Unfortunately, that was our last question, guys. Thank you so much. Thanks to our panelists. Our next panel is in